Arman Khan was a man everyone in the city admired. He was young, rich, and successful. His business grew fast, and people often said he had a golden touch. But behind the tall glass windows of his big house, things were not as bright as they seemed. His only son, Rahil, lived mostly with the maid, Lena, because Arman spent most of his days traveling or working late at the office. On a warm Thursday afternoon, Arman decided to cancel an important meeting. He told his driver, "Take me home. I want to see my son today." The driver looked surprised. "Sir, it's only 4. Usually you just drive," Arman interrupted. He didn't want anyone to know he was coming home early. As the car rolled through the wide streets of the city, Arman stared out of the window. He imagined Rahil sitting alone in his room, maybe playing with his toys or doing homework. "I should spend more time with him," Arman thought. A father should be there, not just send gifts. When the car stopped in front of the large gate, Arman waved the guard not to announce his arrival. He wanted to surprise his son. He stepped out quietly, walked through the garden, and entered the house with his own key. The house was silent as usual. But as he reached the hallway, he heard something unusual music. It was soft but lively, and there was laughter too. Arman frowned. What is going on? He followed the sound to the living room and stopped at the doorway. His eyes widened. There, in the middle of the polished marble floor, Lena was holding Rahil's hands and spinning him around in a simple dance. Rahil's face glowed with happiness, his laughter ringing through the big empty house like sunshine breaking through clouds. Lena clapped her hands to the beat, encouraging him, her long braids swinging with each movement. Arman stood frozen. He had expected Rahil to be studying, not dancing in the living room. For a moment, anger rose inside him. Is this how they spend the afternoons? Playing and wasting time? He felt ready to step in and stop it. But then he noticed Rahil's expression. His son looked free, alive, a sparkle in his eyes Arman had not seen for months. The boy was not just playing, he was learning something, feeling proud of himself. Arman leaned against the wall quietly, unseen, watching them. Very good, Rahil. Lena said as she corrected his steps. 1, 2, 3, keep your head up. Smile. Dancing is about joy, not fear. Rahil giggled. Like this. He tried again, this time with more confidence. Yes. Perfect. Lena laughed and clapped. You will surprise everyone at your school event. They will not believe how well you dance. School event? Arman's heart sank. He didn't even know his son had a performance coming up. He had been too busy to ask. He had thought sending expensive gifts was enough to show his love, but now he saw that his son needed something else: attention, guidance, encouragement. A memory suddenly came back to Arman. When he was Rahil's age, his own father never let him play. Every moment had to be spent studying or practicing business skills. There was no dancing, no laughter, only pressure. Arman remembered sitting in a cold room, wishing his father would clap for him just once. And now, without even knowing, he had done the same thing to Rahil. The music stopped for a moment as Rahil caught his breath. Lena, do you think Papa will watch me dance? He asked softly. Arman felt his chest tighten. Lena smiled kindly. Of course, he will. He loves you very much. But he's always busy, Rahil murmured. Arman clenched his fist. He had never realized how deeply Rahil noticed his absence. Before he could think further, the music started again and the dance continued. Arman watched, torn between stepping in and staying hidden. He felt pride at Rahil's effort, guilt for not being there, and confusion about Lena's role. She was not just a maid, she was teaching his son, giving him confidence and joy. The sound of laughter filled the house again, and Armin suddenly felt like an outsider, a stranger standing in his own home. Finally, Rahil tripped slightly, and both he and Lena burst into laughter, sitting down on the floor to catch their breath. Armin turned away silently and walked back into the hallway. His footsteps were light, his mind heavy. What is happening in my house when I'm not here? He wondered. And why does my son look happier with Lena than with me? Armin didn't know whether to feel grateful or angry. One thing was clear, his early return had shown him something he could never have imagined. And deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. Armin stood in the hallway, unsure of what to do. He had just seen his son Rahil dancing happily with Lena, the maid. Instead of feeling pleased, his heart was tangled with emotions. Pride, guilt, confusion, they all mixed together. He stepped back quietly, hoping to leave without being seen. But just as he turned toward the staircase, a small voice called out, "Papa!" Armin froze. Rahil was standing in the doorway, his eyes wide with surprise. His face quickly changed from joy to fear. He rushed forward, stopping a few steps away, unsure if his father was angry. You came home early," Rahil whispered. "Yes," Armin said slowly, forcing a smile. "I wanted to see you." Lena appeared behind Rahil, looking nervous. She quickly lowered her eyes. "Good evening, sir," she said softly, almost afraid to speak. Armin glanced at her, then back at his son. "What's going on here?" he asked, keeping his voice calm but firm. Rahil swallowed hard. She was teaching me a dance for my school event. I wanted to do something special." Armin's eyes softened slightly. "Why didn't you tell me about this event?" I thought you were too busy," Rahil admitted, his voice almost breaking. Those words stung more than any criticism Armin had ever heard in his life. "Too busy? For my own son?" He turned to Lena. "And you're the one teaching him?" "Yes, sir," Lena said, her hands twisting nervously. "He asked me. I didn't want him to feel alone." Armin didn't respond at once. He studied Rahil's small, hopeful face and then Lena's worried expression. Neither looked like they had done anything wrong. In fact, the room was still full of warmth, the kind Armin rarely felt at home. "All right," Armin said finally, in a low voice. "Continue. I want to see this dance." Rahil blinked in surprise. "Really?" "Yes," Armin nodded, forcing back his own feelings. "Show me what you've learned." Lena quickly turned the music back on. Rahil began to move, shy at first under his father's watchful eyes. But as Lena clapped along and guided his steps, Rahil's confidence returned. He twirled, stepped, and even smiled. Armin watched in silence. He saw how Lena encouraged Rahil with small nods and gentle words. She treated him not like a servant's master, but like family with real care. For the first time in years, Armin noticed how much his son had grown. Rahil's arms were stronger, his feet lighter, his spirit brighter than Armin had ever realized. When the song ended, Rahil looked up anxiously. "Papa, was it okay?" Armin took a deep breath. It was more than okay. It was beautiful. Rahil's eyes shone. "Thank you, Papa." He ran forward and hugged Armin's waist tightly. The unexpected hug shook Armin's heart. It had been so long since his son had clung to him like that. Lena quietly stepped back, giving them space. She didn't speak, but her eyes were moist. She loved Rahil as if he were her own younger brother. After a moment, Armin gently released Rahil. "Go wash up. I'll join you for dinner tonight." "Really?" Rahil said again, as if it were too good to believe. "Yes, really," Armin smiled, this time genuinely. Rahil raced upstairs, his footsteps light with excitement. As soon as the boy was gone, Armin's face grew serious again. He turned to Lena. How long has he been preparing for this event? 3 weeks, sir, Lena replied softly. 3 weeks, Armin murmured. And I didn't even know. He shook his head. Thank you for helping him. But why didn't you tell me? Lena hesitated. Sir, you are very busy. I didn't want to disturb you with small things. Armin looked at her sharply. My son's happiness is not a small thing. Lena lowered her gaze. I'm sorry, sir. I only wanted Rahil to feel proud of himself. Armin sighed heavily. His anger faded, replaced by a strange respect. Lena had done what he had failed to do. She had been there for Rahil. She had noticed his needs and supported him without asking for anything. You care for him a lot, Armin said quietly. Yes, sir, Lena answered simply. He is a good boy. He just needs love and time. Armin didn't reply. He walked to the window, staring at the fading sunset. For years he had believed money was enough to raise his child, a good school, nice clothes, expensive gifts. But now he realized Rahil needed something else, something Armin had almost forgotten how to give, his presence. Finally, Armin spoke again, his voice softer. Thank you, Lena. For looking after him, better than I have. Lena's eyes widened. She had never heard Armin speak like that. Sir, you are his father. He loves you more than anything. He just misses you. Armin closed his eyes for a moment. Those words felt heavier than all his business deals combined. As dinner was served that evening, Rahil sat between his father and Lena, smiling brighter than ever. For the first time in months, the dining table was filled with laughter instead of silence. But deep inside, Armin knew this was just the beginning. He had seen something today that he could not forget: his son's happiness shining because of someone else's care. And he silently promised himself, I will not stay a stranger in my own home any longer. The next morning, Armin woke earlier than usual. For years his schedule had been filled with meetings, flights, and endless phone calls, but today something felt different. He found himself thinking about Rahil instead of the office. Armin walked downstairs and saw Lena already setting the breakfast table. She looked surprised to see him at this hour. Good morning, sir, Lena said softly. Good morning, Armin replied. Where is Rahil? He is upstairs, getting ready for school, she answered. Armin nodded, then sat down with a thoughtful expression. Lena, tell me about this school event. What is it? It is a cultural day, Lena explained carefully. Children will perform songs, dances, and small plays. Rahil wanted to dance because no one expected him to. He said he wanted to surprise you. Armin felt a pinch in his heart. Surprise me? Why? Lena lowered her eyes. Because he misses you, sir. He thinks if he does something special, maybe you will notice him. Those words stayed in Armin's mind long after Rahil left for school. Later, as Armin sat in his office, he tried to focus on business reports, but his mind drifted to his own childhood. He remembered how his father, strict and distant, never clapped for him. Not even once. At age 8, Armin had drawn a beautiful picture and run to his father's study, holding it with pride. Look, Papa, he had said. But his father barely glanced at it, muttering, stop wasting time. Go study. The memory still hurt. Armin had spent years working hard, building wealth, thinking that success would erase the pain. But now he saw Rahil walking the same lonely road, craving his father's attention. By evening, Armin returned home early again. This time he didn't sneak in, he walked straight to the living room. He found Rahil practicing his dance while Lena corrected his steps. Good evening, Papa. Rahil greeted him, a mix of excitement and nervousness in his voice. Armin smiled. Show me what you've learned today. Rahil performed, and though his steps were not perfect, his face glowed with pride. Armin clapped loudly when it ended. Rahil's eyes widened with joy. He couldn't believe his father was watching and applauding. You're getting better every day, Armin said warmly. I will come to your event, no matter what. Rahil's smile grew even brighter. Really? You promise? I promise, Armin replied, holding his son's small hands. Lena quietly stepped aside, watching the rare father-son moment. Armin noticed her calm, caring expression. After Rahil went upstairs to change, Armin turned to her. Lena, he said in a lower voice, you're more than just a maid in this house. You've been teaching him, guiding him. Why do you care so much? Lena hesitated, then spoke softly. Sir, I had a younger brother. His name was Imran. He was full of life, just like Rahil. We grew up very close, but I lost him when I was 15. Armin frowned. I'm sorry. What happened? He got sick, Lena explained, her voice trembling. We lived in a small village. There was no good hospital nearby. By the time we reached the city, it was too late. I always wished I could have done more for him. Armin felt a lump in his throat. Lena continued, when I see Rahil, I feel like I have a second chance to protect someone I love. I don't want him to feel lonely or uncared for. For a moment, Armin couldn't speak. He realized Lena wasn't just doing her job, she was giving Rahil the warmth she once gave her brother. You've done more for my son than I have, Armin admitted quietly. And I'm grateful. Sir, Lena said gently, Rahil doesn't want riches or gifts. He just wants you. When he talks about you, his face lights up. All he asks is time. Those words pierced deeper than any criticism. Armin suddenly understood how wrong he had been. He had given Rahil everything money could buy except himself. That night, Armin joined Rahil for dinner again. They talked about school, about Rahil's friends, about his favorite songs. Lena served the food quietly, smiling as father and son finally shared laughter across the table. After Rahil went to bed, Armin walked out to the balcony alone. The city lights sparkled below, but they felt cold compared to the warmth inside the house. He thought about his own father again, a man who never apologized, never showed love openly. Armin clenched the railing. I will not be like him, he vowed silently. I will not let Rahil grow up feeling invisible. In that moment, Armin decided to rearrange his schedule. He would cancel some meetings, travel less, and make sure Rahil knew he mattered more than any business deal. But deep inside, Armin also wondered something else. Why did I have to learn this lesson from Lena instead of realizing it myself? The thought humbled him. It also planted a question he couldn't shake. What other moments in Rahil's life had he missed while chasing success? The night wind felt cooler as Armin whispered to himself, things are going to change. He didn't yet know how, but he knew this, the walls around his heart were beginning to crack. The next day was quieter than usual in the Khan house. Armin stayed home to finish his work instead of going to the office. Rahil went to school in high spirits, and Lena busied herself with chores. While organizing papers in his study, Armin found something unusual on his desk, a small folded paper with uneven handwriting. It wasn't a business note. It was Rahil's handwriting. Curious, Armin opened it. The note was simple, Dear Papa, I am learning a dance. I hope you will see me. I want you to be proud of me. I miss you when you are away. I want to have dinner with you every day. Your son, Rahil. Armin stared at the words. They were innocent, but they pierced his heart. His son had written this note, but never given it to him. Perhaps Rahil was afraid it wouldn't matter. Just then, Lena entered the study with a tray of tea. She saw the paper in his hand and froze. Did Rahil give you that? She asked carefully. No, Armin said, his voice heavy. I found it here. Did you know about this? Lena hesitated. Yes, sir. He wrote it last week but didn't know how to give it to you. He thought you might be too busy to read it. Armin clenched the note. Too busy to read my own son's words. He looked at Lena sharply. Why didn't you tell me? I tried, sir, Lena replied softly. But every time you came home, you went straight to your room or the phone rang. Rahil didn't want to disturb you. Armin's anger wasn't really at Lena, it was at himself. He rose from his chair and walked to the window, staring at the garden below. The flowers looked bright, but his heart felt heavy. Sir, Lena said gently, Rahil only wants you to watch him. That's all. He doesn't want gifts or anything expensive. He just wants your time. Armin turned around. His face was calm, but his eyes were wet. I have been blind, he admitted. I thought I was giving him everything. Lena looked down respectfully. Sir, you are a good father. You just forgot to show it. At that moment, Rahil's school van honked outside. Armin quickly wiped his face and went to greet his son. Rahil stepped out, surprised to see his father waiting at the door. Papa? You're home early again. Rahil said, his voice full of joy. Yes, Armin smiled. I wanted to walk you inside myself. Lena followed quietly with Rahil's bag. Inside the house, Rahil excitedly showed his father the dance steps he had been practicing all day. Armin clapped and even tried one step himself, which made Rahil laugh so hard that Lena had to hold her stomach to keep from laughing too. Later, over dinner, Rahil spoke about his school event non-stop. Papa, will you sit in the front row? Will you clap for me? He asked eagerly. I will do more than clap, Armin promised. I will cheer for you louder than anyone. Rahil grinned and hugged his father tightly. Lena quietly served food, her heart warming at the sight. But later that night, after Rahil went to bed, Armin asked Lena to meet him in the study. Sit down, Armin said, pointing to a chair. Lena looked nervous. Sir, did I do something wrong? She asked softly. No, Armin shook his head. You've done everything right. I just need to understand something. Lena folded her hands on her lap. What do you want to know, sir? Why didn't you ever ask me to spend more time with Rahil? Armin asked. You've been raising him more than I have. You could have said something. Lena looked up, surprised. Sir, it is not my place to tell you how to raise your son. I only tried to fill the gap when you were away. Armin nodded slowly. You're humble. But you've done more than fill a gap. You've given him love. Sir, Lena said gently, I only did what anyone should do for a child. He is lonely when you travel. He waits at the door every night, hoping you will come home. Those words struck Armin deeply. He saw Rahil's small face in his mind, waiting by the door with hope that never came true. Armin took a deep breath. Thank you, Lena. For being there when I wasn't. But things will change now. I will make sure of it. Lena nodded silently, but her heart was glad. She could see Armin's determination. For the first time, she believed he meant it. That night, Armin went to Rahil's room while he was asleep. He sat by the bed, watching his son's peaceful face. Rahil's small hand rested on his pillow, and Armin gently held it. I'm sorry, my son, Armin whispered. I will not miss another moment of your life. The house was silent, but in Armin's heart, something had shifted. The walls he had built between himself and his family were starting to fall. And as he left the room, the small folded note still in his pocket, Armin knew this was more than a promise, it was a turning point. Armin kept his promise. The very next morning, instead of rushing to the office, he walked Rahil to the school van himself. Rahil held his father's hand proudly, smiling so brightly that even the driver noticed. "Papa, will you come to my event tomorrow?" Rahil asked for the 100th time. "Yes," Armin said firmly. "I will be in the front row." Rahil grinned and waved as the van drove off. Armin stood there for a moment, feeling something warm inside, a feeling he had missed for years. When he went back inside, Lena was in the kitchen packing lunch boxes. Armin watched her for a while before speaking. "Lena, you've done so much for Rahil. I don't even know how to thank you." "There is no need to thank me, sir," Lena said without looking up. "Rahil is like family to me." Armin sat at the table. "Still, I should know more about you. You've been in this house for years, yet I know nothing of your life. Where is your family now?" Lena paused. "My mother lives in the village. I send her money every month. Since my brother passed away, she stays mostly at home. She worries about me working here, but I told her this house is safe." "Your brother," Armin said gently. "You mentioned him before. Was he very young?" "Yes, sir," Lena replied softly. "He was only 12. He was my best friend. When he died, I promised myself that if I ever cared for another child, I would give them all the love I couldn't give him." Armin's throat tightened. "That's why you care so much for Rahil?" Lena nodded. "I don't want him to feel lonely. Children grow up fast. If you miss these years, they never come back." Armin lowered his eyes. The words stung because they were true. He thought about his own father, who never spent a single day just talking or laughing with him. Armin had promised himself he'd be different, yet he had made the same mistake. Later that afternoon, Armin cancelled 2 business meetings and spent the time preparing for Rahil's event. He even called the school to ask where parents would sit. The teacher sounded surprised to hear from him, because he had never attended any school function before. When Rahil came home, Armin greeted him at the door. "How about we practice together?" Armin said. "Really?" Rahil's eyes sparkled. "Yes," Armin smiled. "Show me your steps. Maybe I can learn them too." The living room filled with laughter as father and son danced side by side. Armin's steps were clumsy, but Rahil didn't care. Lena watched from the corner, smiling quietly. For the first time, the big house felt alive. After practice, they sat together for tea. Rahil chattered about his friends and teachers while Armin listened carefully to every word. He realized how many small details of his son's life he had missed. When Rahil went upstairs to rest, Armin turned to Lena. "I have been thinking about something," he said. "You've been helping my son more than I have. You deserve more than just a salary. Is there anything you need?" Lena shook her head quickly. "No, sir. I don't want anything. I am happy if Rahil is happy." "But you must have dreams," Armin insisted. "What about your mother? Does she need help?" Lena hesitated. "She needs medicine, but I manage. Please don't worry about us. Just stay close to Rahil. That will be enough." Armin felt humbled. Here was a young woman with so little, yet asking nothing for herself. She only wanted Rahil to be loved. That night, Armin looked around his house, the marble floors, the shining lights, the expensive furniture. For the first time, it all felt empty. What use was wealth if his son was writing hidden notes asking for his father's love? Before going to bed, Armin walked into Rahil's room. The boy was asleep, holding a small wooden toy. Armin sat beside him and whispered, "I will never let you feel alone again." The next morning came quickly. It was the day of the school event. Armin dressed in simple clothes and asked Lena to join them at the school. At first she refused, saying she would wait at home, but Armin insisted. "You are part of this family now," Armin said firmly. You helped Rahil prepare. You should be there to see him perform. Lena's eyes widened. Sir, I'm just a maid. No, Armin interrupted. You are someone my son trusts. That makes you important. On the drive to the school, Rahil sat between his father and Lena, smiling and holding both their hands. It felt like a real family. As they reached the gate, Armin noticed how excited Rahil was. Remember, I'll be watching you, Armin said warmly. And I'll clap louder than anyone. Lena added with a laugh. Rahil grinned. Then I'll dance my best. Armin stepped out of the car, holding his son's hand tightly. For the first time, he wasn't thinking about his phone, his office, or his business deals. He was only thinking about Rahil and how much he had missed until now. Inside, the auditorium buzzed with parents and children. As they took their seats in the front row, Armin felt something he hadn't felt in years: nervous excitement for his son. He looked at Lena sitting quietly beside him, and thought, without her, I might never have opened my eyes. Tomorrow's performance would not just be Rahil's moment. It would be Armin's chance to prove, to himself and to his son, that he was finally there. The morning sun rose softly over the hills, spreading golden light through the large windows of the mansion. Armin had not slept much. He had spent the entire night sitting in his study, thinking about everything that had happened. The cheerful laughter he had heard from his son and Mina still echoed in his mind. He knew there was something pure and special in that bond. But he also knew his decision would shape the future of his family. When he finally walked out of his study, he saw his son sitting on the floor of the living room, playing with small wooden cars. Mina was beside him, helping him build a tiny bridge from blocks. The scene was so peaceful that Armin stopped at the doorway without saying a word. For a moment, he simply watched. His heart felt heavy but warm at the same time. Mina looked up and saw him. She quickly stood, worried he might still be upset. "Good morning, sir," she said softly. Armin nodded. "Good morning. I need to talk to both of you," he said, his voice calm but firm. The little boy ran to his father and hugged him. "Papa, Mina says she will make my favorite sweet dish today," he said with excitement. Armin knelt to hug him back tightly. "That's nice," he whispered. "But first, I want you to go play in your room for a bit. I need to speak with Mina alone." The boy nodded and ran off happily, unaware of the tension in the air. When they were alone, Armin looked at Mina. "I watched you with my son yesterday. You care for him deeply," he said. Mina lowered her eyes. "Yes, sir. I love looking after him. He feels like family to me," she replied honestly. Armin sighed. "I misjudged you. I thought I had to protect my son from something wrong. But what I saw was kindness. My son trusts you because you give him love I have not been around to give." Mina's voice trembled. "Sir, I never meant to upset you. I only wanted to make his days happy when you were busy." Armin walked to the window, staring outside for a moment before speaking again. "Mina, I have a question. If I offer to send you somewhere better, with more money, would you leave this house?" Mina looked surprised. "Sir, no," she said without hesitation. "I do not work here just for money. I stay because your son needs someone close. I stay because I promised myself I would take care of him well." Armin turned back to face her. For the first time in days, a small smile touched his lips. "Thank you. You have done more for my family than I realized. But I must also fix something. I have been absent for too long." Later that day, Armin called a family meeting. His relatives, who lived nearby, gathered at the mansion. Everyone expected a usual business update, but Armin spoke differently. "I came home early this week and learned something important," he began. "I saw how lonely my son was. I saw how someone else gave him the attention I failed to give. Mina is not just an employee here, she has been like an elder sister to my child. Some of the relatives exchanged surprised looks. One of his cousins whispered, "Why is he praising the maid so much?" But Armin ignored it. He continued, "From now on, I will spend less time away. My son deserves a father who is present. And Mina will not be treated as just staff. She will be treated with respect in this home." His words shocked a few family members who had always looked down on Mina because of her humble background. But no one dared argue with Armin when they saw the seriousness in his eyes. That evening, Armin kept his promise. Instead of locking himself in his study, he took his son to the garden. They planted flowers together. They walked around the yard, talking and laughing. Mina watched from the porch with a smile. She felt a mix of relief and happiness seeing the bond grow stronger. But she also knew deep inside that this peace might not last forever. Some people in the family were unhappy with Armin's open support for her. She heard whispers in the kitchen when she passed by. She noticed cold stares from a few relatives. Late at night, when the house was quiet, Mina sat in her small room and prayed softly. "Please, keep this family safe," she whispered. "I don't need wealth or gifts. I only want the little boy to stay happy." Meanwhile, in another corner of the mansion, Armin sat at his desk writing something in his journal. He wrote about the lessons he had learned about trust, loyalty, and the meaning of family. He realized that sometimes the people we least expect can teach us the greatest truths. As he closed his journal, Armin made another decision. He would not just protect Mina, he would also find out who in the family was trying to create problems for her. He suspected someone had been spreading lies before. This time, he would not stay silent. Outside, the wind rustled the trees, carrying a sense of change. The mansion felt calmer, but there was still an unseen storm waiting to arrive. The morning of the school event finally arrived. The sun shone brightly over the city, and Armin felt a nervous excitement he had not experienced in years. He and Rahil got ready early. Rahil wore his neatly pressed uniform, his hair combed perfectly, and a small smile that reflected both excitement and pride. "Papa, will you sit in the front row?" Rahil asked, holding his father's hand tightly as they walked toward the school. "I will, my son," Armin replied warmly. "And I will cheer the loudest." Lena walked beside them, carrying a small bag with Rahil's things and a bottle of water. She smiled quietly, her heart swelling with pride. For years, she had helped Rahil practice in secret, teaching him the dance steps, correcting his posture, and building his confidence. Today, she would watch the boy she had cared for blossom in front of his father and the world. Inside the auditorium, parents were settling into their seats. The noise of children chattering and teachers organizing the event filled the room with energy. Rahil looked around nervously, clutching Armin's hand. "Don't worry, son," Armin whispered. "Just enjoy the moment. Show everyone what you've learned." When Rahil's turn came, the boy stepped confidently onto the stage. He looked for his father and saw Armin and Lena in the front row. Their smiles gave him courage. The music started, and Rahil began to dance. At first, he moved carefully, remembering each step Lena had taught him. Slowly, his movements grew more confident, his smile brighter. He twirled, clapped, and lifted his head proudly. Armin's eyes filled with tears. He realized how much he had missed the small victories, the shy smiles, the moments of joy. All those years of being absent weighed on him heavily now, but seeing Rahil dance made him feel hope again. Lena sat quietly beside him, her own eyes moist. She felt proud, not because she had taught Rahil the steps, but because she had helped nurture his spirit. She had given him courage and love, and today that love was shining on stage. As the music ended, the audience clapped loudly. Armin stood up and clapped with all his heart. "Bravo, Rahil," he shouted. Rahil's cheeks flushed with happiness. He had never heard his father cheer so loudly before. Rahil ran off the stage and into Armin's arms. "Did you see, Papa? Did you see me dance?" "I saw, my son," Armin said, hugging him tightly. "I saw every step. I am so proud of you." Lena followed them and placed a hand gently on Rahil's shoulder. "You were amazing," she said softly. That evening, back at the mansion, Armin sat with Rahil and Lena in the living room. The house felt warmer than ever. Laughter filled the air as Rahil showed his father the new moves he had learned. Armin joined in, stepping carefully but smiling freely. For the first time, he felt like he truly belonged in his own home. After dinner, Armin spoke to Lena privately. "You have done more for my son than I ever could," he said. "From now on, I want you to be treated as part of this family. Your care and love for him are priceless." Mina smiled quietly, feeling both surprised and grateful. "Sir, I only wanted him to be happy," she said. "And he is happy," Armin replied. "And I am learning how to be a better father because of you." Rahil, overhearing the conversation, hugged both of them. "Thank you, Papa, and thank you, Lena," he said. "I love you both." Armin felt a warmth spread through his chest. He realized that wealth, fancy toys, and big houses could never replace time, attention, and love. His son needed him, truly needed him, and today, he had started to make up for the lost years. In the following weeks, Armin continued to spend more time at home. He attended every school function, every parent-teacher meeting, and spent long evenings helping Rahil with homework, reading stories, and playing games. Lena remained by their side, guiding the boy with quiet wisdom, but now with the respect and gratitude she had always deserved. Slowly, the mansion transformed. The walls that had once felt cold and silent were now filled with laughter, music, and the simple joys of family life. Neighbors noticed the change, commenting on how Armin's son seemed happier, brighter, and more confident. One evening, as Armin and Rahil sat in the garden watching the sunset, the boy turned to his father. "Papa, thank you for staying home today. I love our time together." Armin smiled, feeling tears prick his eyes. "I will always stay, my son. I promise." Lena, standing nearby with a cup of tea, looked at them quietly. She knew her job was done not because she had finished teaching Rahil dance steps, but because she had helped a family find its way back to love. For Armin, the lesson was clear. Success without presence meant little. But love, attention, and care could make even the richest man feel wealthier than anything money could buy. And as the golden light of the sunset filled the garden, Armin realized that this was not the end, it was a beautiful new beginning for him, his son, and the woman who had quietly guided them both. The mansion no longer felt like a house of walls and empty rooms. It was now a home warm, lively, and full of love. And Armin knew he would never let it be otherwise again.